Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. Today I'll be reviewing the SH Figuarts Izuku Midoriya, or Deku, figure from My Hero Academia. Now, I've talked about this in my Revoltech Mirko review, but I dropped My Hero partway through. Not that I hated it or anything, but I was just losing interest in the franchise and just moved on. I have been sort of like trying to get back into it slowly, and these figures that they've been releasing lately have really helped make me want to get back into the franchise, because I've heard that the SH Figuarts line is really good. The Revoltech Mirko was absolutely fantastic, and now that the series is finished, I can binge it all while reading. So who knows what will happen in a few weeks' time if I'll be up to date. But so far, I'm getting that passion back to get really into these posable figurines, as well as get really into My Hero, just for the sake of understanding these figures and designs a little bit more, as well as the powers, because I just really don't know what's happening for some of these. But in general, I think that I can still enjoy these figures enough to understand what's going on. So this is the first SH Figuarts released in the My Hero line. Tamashii Nations are late to the party, but I think that they have done a really good job. I think it's similar to their Demon Slayer line. I haven't looked at the Demon Slayer line, but I've heard that the SH Figuarts ones are really good, like better than the Figma and the Buzzmod figures. But for My Hero, at least, the series is decently popular enough still, and they're doing the more modern designs, so it will work pretty well for posable figures at this point in time. But anyway, enough waffling about, let's open up the figure. So taken out of the box, here is what Deku comes with. So we've got the figure itself, we've got 3 additional faces, as well as 2 additional hair sculpts. We've got several different hands, as well as an effect part that is attached to one of his hands. So it's an interesting little loadout. It might seem a little bit light at first, but what you can achieve with this figure and the way that you can customize the faces, I think that it's more than enough for a baseline figurine. Yes, it sucks that there is a sold separately effect part set that was announced, I believe, prior to this figure releasing, so that kind of sucks. And it does have some accessories for Deku that realistically should have been in here, but I will ignore the existence of that for the most part, and when I do a review of the effect part set, I will be a bit more critical of what was in it versus what should have been in the base figure. But anyway, taken out of the box and put on display here is Deku, and he's looking pretty damn good. I believe that this is his current design in the anime, and it has changed a bit from the last time I had seen him, so it is an interesting look. I do like the sort of deeper green that they've gone with. The gauntlets look nice, the boots are good, and the sculpt work in general is really nice. The paintwork is a little bit inconsistent. Like, a lot of the detail on the outfit is nice, faces are all good, the hair's really nice. The hands are a bit inconsistent for the paint job, not as refined as I think I would have liked, just a little bit messy here or there. Just like you can sort of see the lines that the paint was meant to go into, or at least that's how it looks, and just like the green didn't really match over all of that creamy white either, but it's fine enough, you won't really notice it. Let's do a quick size comparison. So here he is next to the Revoltech Mirko, and Mirko is a smaller figure, but I believe that she's meant to be smaller than Deku anyway. I just didn't really realize that at the time of recording. But they do pair pretty well together, especially if you're going to do action poses or something like that. And here he is next to the SH Figuarts Bakugo, which we will be reviewing shortly as well. Now, posability for Deku is pretty good. So he's got a ball joint at the head and neck. He's not really limited at all by the scarf cuff, which isn't posable at all. The little cape at the back can hinge and rotate around. His arms can move up that far, rotate all the way around, butterfly in, and there's an upper arm swivel, bend at the elbow. It is blocked a little bit by the cuff can rotate around as well, and there's a ball hinge at the wrist. The hinge itself is a little bit limited as well due to the design of the cuff, but there's not much you can do about that. There's a ball joint at the upper chest, which allows for a good amount of crunching and rotation. At the waist, you can also rotate the figure as well, and it allows for some really good expressive poses. The belt is floating. He can do the splits that far, kick forward and back that far, thigh swivel, bend at the knee, which is pretty good considering the boot size. There is a floating piece with his shoelaces. There's a pivot at the ankle. Bend at the toes, as well as a hinge for the up and down motion for the ankle. So pretty good posability. It is the sort of standard that you would assume out of a posable figure, but the range of motion itself is quite good. Everything is buttery smooth on this figure. The only thing that is slightly annoying are the fists, or just generally hands, are a little bit hard to remove and replace. I feel like I'm going to break the figure every time I do it. It is quite a tight fit and it's quite an awkward fit to put back in. It's also hard to rotate it around to use the hinge correctly on the hands, but you don't really need it anyway because it is somewhat limited, but something to note. For the faces, we get a standard neutral face out of the box. We get a mouth open smiling face, which is a little bit awkward looking. I'm not quite sure if I like how it looks. Like, it looks like it's Deku, but I don't really agree on the expression so much. But again, it's been a while since I've seen or read My Hero, so I don't know if it's like in reference to a specific smile that he has. He's also got a teeth-gritted angry face, and it looks like his powers are being activated with his eyes. And he also has a really rage-induced face, again with his eyes, mouth open shouting, and a really noticeable crease on his forehead. These faces are also all compatible with his action windswept hair, as well as his other alternative face, which is the One for All effect, where it's covering his eyes. I don't really like the look that much. It looks a little bit weird on his face, but I do appreciate that it is something you can do. But with all those faces, you can get a lot of expressiveness out of the figure. You can change the look and style of the figure pretty much on the fly. If you don't like the One for All effect part, the windswept hair is the exact same hair sculpt, so it works in most cases as well. You could even do some toy photography and add in effect later because the hair design is the same. But with all of that range of motion and the accessories, you can get some really, really nice poses. The effect part, I believe that's the Black Whip power. I think that's what it's called. I don't really remember too much. It's one of the inherited powers, I believe. But that is a pretty cool part. It works pretty well in action poses. Wasn't too sure how to use it beyond like the base promo images that they had. But it is nice enough to have. And I think that the figure works really, really well with or without it. I would have liked a bit more in terms of the variety of hands, but what we do have is like the baseline that you need. But the expressiveness of the faces and hair sculpts work well enough to make up for any other accessories that it may or may not be lacking. But in general, I had a lot of fun with the figure, had a lot of fun posing it, setting it up, and because the joints were so nice and smooth, it was a joy to pose around, which is something that will become very, very important when we talk about the Bakugo, because you can see all the spikes on him, and those are sharp and awkward, and it makes posing and dealing with the figure a little bit more difficult, whereas the Deku's much more smooth design and simple design works in its favor. And it was just a really, really solid figure to play around with. Really good baseline for SH Figuarts, and they came out of the gate swinging. I understand why everyone is going crazy over these figures and why they've had to re-release the Deku so soon after its base run, and I think that from here on out this line will be really, really good. I mean, there's a reason why the Todoroki and Uraraka have pre-sold out. There's the next one, the Toga, will probably pre-sell out immediately as well. I'm sure that they're going to go crazy on these figures because they're already going pretty crazy, and I can see that it will be a really, really good line if the quality control stays consistent. Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. Today I'll be reviewing the SH Figuarts Bakugo Katsuki, also known as Great Explosion Murder God Dynamite. And it's really cute that they've put the hero names of both Deku and Bakugo on their boxes. I can only imagine that that will be a consistent thing as it goes on, and I think that's really, really cool. Anyway, we're looking at the SH Figuarts Bakugo, the second one released in the My Hero line. I've already talked about my history with the franchise and how I do and do not know a decent amount about it. So I don't know the names of attacks and things like that going forward, and I'm not super familiar with this design of Bakugo, nor was I super familiar with the design of Deku before, but to my understanding these are the current looks of the characters, and that's pretty much all I really need to know. They are pretty solid figures overall, and I will be getting into the Bakugo today, so you will be seeing what's good and bad about it, because it's not all good news. Unlike the Deku, which for the most part was a really solid figure, the Bakugo does have a few problems, and not just the sold separately effect part set. So taken out of the box, here's what Bakugo comes with. So we've got the figure itself, 4 additional faces, several different hands, effect parts for each hand, as well as an alternate hairpiece. Now it's a pretty good loadout, honestly, and the sold separately effect part set adds onto this even more. But for a baseline figure, this is really good. Honestly, probably just a touch better than the Deku loadout, but I do think both figures stand pretty well on their own. But taken out of the box and put on a display here is Bakugo, and he's looking pretty good. He's got a very distinct silhouette, a very spiky and fragile looking silhouette, which is also very important as we talk further about this figure. You do need to put the little hair spikes in separately, which is difficult because they are spiky and on ball joints. The other part is his very spiky hair, and the fragile looking grenades, which are a little bit difficult to deal with. Paint wise, Bakugo looks really good. There's not a huge amount of paint, but what is detailed up looks rather nice. He's got a similar problem to the Deku, where the hands aren't as good as the other parts, but in general it's fine. The faces and hair sculpt are the really important parts, and I think that that's captured really well here. The big grenade gauntlets also look very nice, and his very distinct knee pads are very well sculpted too. Here he is next to the Deku, and you can see they stand pretty well together. I believe this is correct scaling, and it looks very nice. And here he is next to the Revoltech Mirko as well. So it's interesting that I got several My Hero figures after having nothing for years, but it was a fun trip to Japan nonetheless. So I picked all of these up when I was there, just because I heard very good things about all of these figures, and I can confirm that for the most part they are absolutely true. So posability for Bakugo, he's got a ball joint at the head and neck, which is a bit difficult to get a lot out of, honestly. The collar does get in the way, as well as the hair spikes. The collar can move a bit, which is good, but the back sort of panel on the collar can come off pretty suddenly, and it can break the sculpt a little bit because it sort of unlocks the collar and it gets all awkward. It's very tricky sometimes posing him around, especially with how spiky the hair can be. The arms can rotate all the way around, a little bit blocked by the hair, but it's fine. His arm can butterfly out like that, which is quite good. There's an upper arm swivel. There's a double bend at the elbow, and it is blocked by the grenade, but it is still pretty good movement, all things considered. And there's a ball hinge at the wrist. The grenade can slide up and down to allow for a little bit more motion, which is nice too. There is a ball joint at the upper chest, which allows for some really good arcing side to side and all of that. Really good movement. The grenades on his belt can also be swiveled and removed. It is a floating piece. Here you can do the splits that far, kick forward and back that far, swivel at the upper leg, double bend at the knee, which looks a little bit weird with the kneecap, and there is a pivot and bend at the ankle. All the standards of the SH Figuarts line, just really good smooth joints and really good range of motion. He also has this other joint that I discovered partway through posing, which is how his arm can move out. It is really awkward looking, but it achieves some really good dynamic poses. It hinges up and then out. It's really weird. If you broke this part, I don't know how you'd even begin to repair it, but looks awkward, but functions really well. Now for faces, Bakugo has a neutral stern look out of the box, which looks really good. He's got a teeth-gritted smiling face. He's got a mouth open shouting face with bloodshot eyes, as well as a mouth open shouting smiling face, which looks really good as well. He also comes with a neutral unmasked face, which is used for his alternate hairpiece, which requires you to take off the head entirely, put this on, and swap out the same bangs. Again, this is all very, very spiky and very, very annoying. But with all of those accessories, you can get him into some really, really nice poses. He holds together really, really well. The weight distribution on the figure is absolutely fantastic. All of the joints, again, similar to the Deku, feel really, really good. The hands are a bit easier to deal with on this figure, which is funny considering the massive gauntlets, but really rock solid figure. I tried my best to match as many promo images as I could, and I absolutely enjoyed my time playing with this figure. It takes to posing like nobody's business. I like that you can sort of hide the face in the mouth cover, so it can change the expression of the figure even more. So it gives you even more options than just like the face itself. You can sort of hide it in amongst that cover, and it just, you're looking more at the eyes, and it can change the whole look of the figure, and I really like that. The explosive effect parts are also very nice. They are specific to each hand, and you get separate hands that have plugs in them, and they work rather nice. It reminds me of the Figma, which I didn't like, but those effect parts didn't really work in those hands, but these ones work flawlessly. And the Amazing Yamaguchi Bakugo, which I no longer have, was a nightmare, couldn't hold a pose to save his life, and this one is absolutely fantastic in every regard. Even if he is spiky and really frustrating to move around, he is still a really, really good figure. There are a few things missing, not so much on the Bakugo, but on the Deku as well, and we will be getting into that in the effect part set review, which will be coming soon. If you're watching this in the future, then the video is already out, so please enjoy that. I recorded all of these at once, and it was difficult playing around and assembling everything, so please appreciate what I had to go through to do the effect part set review. Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. Today I'll be reviewing the SH Figuarts Plus Ultra effect part set for Bakugo and Deku SH Figuarts. Now, it's interesting that this is a double pack effect part set for figures that had literally just come out. Like the Deku is a couple months old at the time of recording, but the Bakugo came out at like the same time as this, which means that this was in development way before any of these figures released, and they made a conscious effort to release this separate. It, for the most part, comes with effects that couldn't have come with the base set, and I do appreciate that they are designed as sold separately effects, so you can get them if you want. However, I believe that Bakugo and Deku both have an accessory each in this set that should have been in the base set, and that kinda sucks. Now, taken out of the box, here's what we've got, and it is a pretty decent chunk of stuff. So we've got all of these one-for-all effect parts for Deku, both green lightning and this sort of like red sort of full power thing, as well as this new explosion effect for Bakugo. We get this absolute mess of assembly parts for Bakugo as well. Separate forearms for Bakugo, new hands for Bakugo, new hands for Deku, as well as a new hair sculpt for Deku. Little stands for the comic effect part, smash and boom effects, and that's about it. It's a pretty cool setup, but I will go through it all and give my 2 cents on why I think this is good and why I think it's bad. But first off, we need to equip it on the actual SH Figuarts, and through a little bit of movie magic, it will happen instantaneously. And it'll be nice and simple just like that. So now we've got the Bakugo and Deku, and we just need to equip them, so it'll be as easy as 1, 2, 3. If you can't tell, it was not easy at all. The Bakugo effect part, the machine gun thingies that go into his back were a freaking nightmare. The instructions constantly tell you how fragile everything is. The Deku stuff is very similar to the Revoltech Thor, like the Amazing Yamaguchi Thor, where it says just like, yeah, clip them on, you figure it out. And they don't hold on super well. It's kind of annoying, but yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, it's done now. We will be looking at Bakugo first. So he's got these posable machine gun, I believe, parts that move onto his back. It also comes with an alternative back part piece to his collar, which are these other tiny little machine guns with these tiny little pipes that are meant to connect into either of his arms. There's a tiny little plug on each of his arms, but I'm terrified of it because it constantly tells you how fragile everything is. And I didn't want to do that and move his arms around. That sounded like an absolute disaster, especially some of these parts went flying as I was trying to pose them in different poses anyway, so I do not want to force anything if I do not need to. But anyway, the back part machine gun effect thing with 6 arms is a really, really cool accessory. It works really, really well. You get a lot of expression in it just because every single arm is posable, and works pretty well, all things considered, but I was terrified to put them together just because the instructions make it very clear how fragile everything is, and the joint connections are incredibly tight and the plugs are very, very tiny. It was a nightmare from beginning to end, but I can't deny that it doesn't look really, really cool when you're done. The other major accessory you get for Bakugo are the alternative forearms. So this is his look without the grenade arms, which makes him just a regular SH Figuarts pretty much. It changes his posability just a tiny bit just because the gauntlets aren't in the way, but I do like having the option of a properly powered down Bakugo without a mask, with his forearms just normal, and the detail work on those is really, really nice. The process to swap these out is a little bit more involved than you'd think, just because of how the gauntlets are attached initially, but it is cool once you've got it all up and running, and he looks very, very nice like that. And again, changes his silhouette completely. And then the last main accessory for Bakugo are the new explosion effects, which are this sort of like net of sharp explosions that are sparkling. Really, really cool effect part. I really like how it looks. The way it attaches onto the hands is very elegant as well, and everything looks very nice and seamless. You do also get these little boom effects on stands, adds a little bit more to the figure, more so in photography, but it is kind of cool to have. And in general, Bakugo's got a really, really nice loadout and works very well with the accessory pack. I think that the only thing that should have been in the base set of Bakugo were the forearms, especially since they are effectively something that involve posability, and I think it would be cool to have that option of being like a fully powered down Bakugo for the base set, especially since it already had an unmasked face and hair sculpt. It would have worked better to have the forearms there as well, but I understand why they didn't do it, but it still kind of sucks, and Deku has a similar accessory that we'll be talking about very shortly now. So Deku's loadout is mostly one for all effect parts, so green lightning and some red effect as well. He's got an alternate hair sculpt, which is his sort of like main hair, just with some of those lightning effects as well. It is a bit of a darker shade as well, so the hair doesn't really match too much with the base, but looking front on you wouldn't really notice it too much. Now, like I said, these effect parts attach very much like the Amazing Yamaguchi Thor, where they're flexible material and you just sort of slot them on where they'll fit. The instructions do give a rough outline of how they'd like you to do it, but realistically it's up to you how you'd like to do it. Generally, it's fun enough to do and easy enough to set up, even if they fall off constantly, just because the actual reapplication isn't too difficult. Then the red effects are easy enough to do as well. You get one for each hand and one for each foot, and they look really, really good as well. I especially like the leg one. Looks pretty damn good, especially if you get a really nice dynamic pose going. You do also get smash effect parts similar to the booms for Bakugo, and they look nice as well. Nothing too crazy, but it adds just a little bit more character to the figure, and I understand this as like a separately sold accessory pack. The other thing that is the main accessory that Deku should have come with is the flick. I'm not sure how often he does it in like later series, but it was such a big moment that that was his main attack for like the first 2-3 seasons of My Hero. He's got a left and right hand flicking, and it's a simple accessory, but it's a really, really important accessory for the character, I believe. And I think it's a little bit awkward that he didn't come with that in the base. It would have been easy, it's just an extra hand, it's not like an extra effect part or anything like that, and it kind of sucks that we didn't get it. But I guess that they need reasons to sell this effect part set even more, or reasons to make people that didn't want the effect part set to want this because it feels like the figure's lacking in some way. It's all sorts of weird things. But regardless, it was harder to find the effect part set than it was to find the Deku and Bakugo out in the wild, so I'm sure that their strategy is working somehow. But it is a little bit awkward having 2 accessories in this set that should have been in the base set, but everything else I agree with should have been a separately sold effect. It's entirely like if you want to. Alternatively, if you wanted like some one for all effects, you could just buy a separate Tamashi like lightning effect or something like that. I'm sure you can probably fake one for all with that, but otherwise it's pretty good. A similar thing you could probably do with explosion effects too, but the specific Bakugo effects that they've got here are very, very nice, and in general the loadout is very, very nice. It's just not my favorite. But it does make some really, really solid figures even better, and it makes an already terrifying figure in the Bakugo to pose around with the spikes make it even more terrifying, because now he is super fragile at all times, so he is very, very awkward to deal with. Still a really good figure, but very awkward to deal with. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed that video, and I will see you all next time. Oh hi, I didn't see you there. As you can see, I'm hard at work making new videos for the channel. Now, while I'm happy with where the channel is right now, I could use your help. By liking, commenting, and subscribing to the channel, it helps out the YouTube algorithm and recommends my channel to more people. So if you like any of my videos, please let me know, it really helps out. And if you liked this one, please let me know too. It means a lot to me, and I really, really appreciate all of you guys.